Hello, and a very warm welcome to everybody today. We're thrilled to have you on this call for our Hudl Instat onboarding for ice hockey webinar. My name is Shayne Hall, and I'm the Senior Manager here at Hudl. I'll be your host today as we unlock the power of Instat for your team. We know your time is valuable, so over the next 30 to 40 minutes, we're going to do a deep dive into how Instat can help transform the way that you analyze your games, the way you scout opponents, and the way you develop your players. And to make the most of our time together, please feel free to ask any questions as we're going through the webinar. We have a specific Q&A section. It's located on this screen. And you can find the button at the bottom right-hand corner. And please feel free to ask them as we're going through the live sessions today. We'll have a dedicated question section at the end of the webinar today where we will be posing these questions to Lance. And if there's something that we can add value to as we go through the webinar as well. So we'll be happy to go through that. I'm going to monitor some of those questions as well. Okay, that's enough housekeeping from me. I'd like to introduce you to Lance Dulac. He's one of our implementation consultants here at Hudl, and he's going to say a few words about himself and then take you through your learning journey. Okay, so it's lovely to see everybody. Enjoy the show and welcome to Lance. Take it away.
Thanks for that, Shayne. Hi, my name is Lance Dulac. I'm one of the implementation consultants here at Hudl. I've been with Hudl for 7 years, and I've been fortunate enough to be on this wonderful implementation team for the last couple of years. Our main role is to ensure that you're making the most out of our products and delivering any training that is required by yourselves. So the agenda for today is we're going to take a look over the Instat hockey platform. So it's specifically aimed at those sport contract users who are transitioning across to using Instat and maybe have never used it before. We'll look at the platform itself, what it can deliver in the way of statistics analysis, how we can export details out of there, whether that be video or whether it be data. And also we'll finish off looking at some further resources as well. So basically, Instat, it's an advanced video analysis platform. It combines very deep data, which is all linked back to video. It is one of the unique points of Instat. It allows you to break down game footage efficiently, track player movements across time, look for key moments, and identify where each player may need to improve, as well as the team itself. We can make data-driven decisions, again, based on the vast amount of data that we actually have for both individual games, for tournaments, for individual players. We can compare and contrast that over time and look for trends and patterns. And we can also share any information with other members of our team. This is especially useful when we want to start sharing out things like playlists with other members of the team. And that can be people who already are on the Instat platform, or maybe colleagues outside of your organization. So let's take a quick look at the platform. For this, I'm going to tailor this specifically for those transitioning across. So we're going to look at full games, how to create clips from full games, how we can edit clips, create playlists, share playlists, and also how we can utilize some deeper analysis. We're also going to look at how to export the video and the data. So Hudl Instat, we've got an extensive video library. It goes across multiple leagues and across multiple age groups as well. So one of the unique points of it is that you can track players all the way from the youth level up to the senior grades. Gives you a good comprehensive understanding of how they've developed their skills over time. We can focus the analysis on tag stats for scouting, self-evaluation, and then again create those playlists for deeper analysis or just to share. So if we're doing scouting on opposition, for example. We've got team and player profiles. And again, all of these are linked, the data is linked back to video. So attack and defense clips, lines analysis, shot map tools, face-off charts, all the things you would expect to be utilizing in either pre or post-game analysis. We've also got game breakdowns. So our traditional box scores will be shown in these. And again, we can look at things like lines data. So if you wanted to look at how certain lines are playing in power plays or power kills, then you can look at that as well. And the film enabled box scores with time on ice, which is again is especially important for our youth leagues. We can export this tagging as well to XMLs for any of you out there who like to visualize data in third-party tools such as Tableau. So practically, when you log on to Instat for the first time, there's a two-factor authentication when you have to log on. But it's if you're already using things like the Hudl Online platform, then it's the same credentials for both. It's important to stress right now that you're not downloaded any additional software onto your computers. You are accessing it on the web. So it means that you can access it from any device, whether that be a tablet, your phone, a Windows machine, or a Mac. When you log on, you'll be taken to this search page. The search page here is where we're going to start our process. Now you can search for any teams, and anyone that you've recently visited, then they'll be shown below. So whether that be an individual player, whether it be a team, or whether it be a tournament, it's the same process. So if I go into here, and then if we put in the name, you'll see that it starts to process that information, and then it will come up with any players that include these this letters or syntax in their actual names. But we're interested in the teams, and again, as we mentioned earlier, we've got the youth teams, and then we've got the senior team. So if we jump straight into the senior team, it will open up in a new tab. Anytime that we click on anything, it opens us up on a new tab. So I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough of this particular page. So at the top of the page here, you'll see the team, and you'll see the country they're from, and also which league they play in. Then moving down, we've got our season statistics here. These are averages. So it's not that this particular team has only scored 2 goals in the entire season. It's the average per game that they're expected to get. The video clips section in the center. This one, at the moment, I'm set to the last 3 games. But if I wanted to go to the last 5 games, it will just update that information. And then anything, any numbers that you see in here, and any of these little tabs that you see within it, they're actual playlists in their own right. So anytime we click on them, we create a new playlist, which we'll come back to in a little while. We also have the players section on the right-hand side. And again, we have the ability to select the player and then go into a little bit of a deeper dive into that individual player statistics as well. At the bottom, we have our games. We have a list of all the games that have been played in the current season. And as you will see, it gets quite extensive as we go through, and we have the option to actually load more games if you've not scouted enough. Most teams will just scout back a set number of games, whether that be 3 or 5. Then to the right of this, we have the option to go to the full game playlist. So that'll be whichever periods were played, 1, 2, and 3. If there's any overtime or if it went to shootouts, all of those will be shown. We could look at the ice time, which is all the time between whistles. We can look at some highlights, which Instat has auto-created, or we can just go straight and look at the goals. On the left-hand side here, we also have the ability to go into a game profile and look at that. That will take us to the statistics of that particular game. So again, we've got our team statistics here, and then we've got all of our individual players' statistics here on the right-hand side. As we mentioned earlier, you do have the ability to actually download from here. So you can download all of these instances if you want to. We then have the tabs across the top: skaters, goalies, lines, shot map, face-offs, and then a deeper episode search, which we'll come back to a little bit later on. So coming back to the main page, if I want to look at all of the goals, if I just go to select this, so if I click on this one, again, it will open up in a new tab. The new tab opens, we have our video window, and then we also have our list on the right-hand side. So all the goals that were scored in the first game, and then as we click on the blue sections, it drops down the other goals. So you can see all 11 goals here on the right-hand side. You do have the ability here to download all of this video. So you can download all the episodes. It would download 2 minutes and 12 seconds of video in total. And then we've got 11 episodes from 4 matches. Across on the left-hand side of the video player, we have the play button. We can then jump to the next episode. We can kill the audio if we want to. And then you'll also notice here that you've got the actual time of this clip. So we're 0.02 into it, 2 seconds. And then we're also, it's a 12-second clip. So it's 6 seconds. It's by default, it's automatically set at 6 seconds before the event and 6 seconds after the event. And again, we'll come back to that a little bit later on where we can make those changes. You can jump back 5 seconds or you can jump forward 5 seconds in the footage. We can change the episode limits here. So you do have the ability to add time on to the end or the beginning of this episode. And if you click on the number 10 here, you'll see that we can select the episode length here. So we could add an additional, if we set it to 30, then we would look to add an additional 30 seconds onto the end of the clip. But again, by default, it's set to 10 seconds. On the right-hand side, we have the ability to take a screenshot of a piece of play. So if we wanted to take a screenshot, maybe include it into a report or an email, we can do that and send it across. We can also go to full screen on the far right, and then we can set the quality here of the actual vision. So if we want to set it at 720, for example, then you just make that change, set it to 720. Whilst we're editing, I would always keep it in 720. And then when it comes to actually showing that full screen, say in a meeting room, I would drop it into a higher resolution on there. Across the bottom of this, we have save episode, change borders, tag, and add picture. Now, for the users coming across from Sport Contract, one of your workflows would have been to load the full game. So if I come back to just add a full game in here, I'm just going to jump into there. So again, same process. It will load up the video. On the right-hand side, we have the different periods. If we wanted to start making clips from this full game and just edit out sections as we're going along, we would utilize this save episode feature. So we start the play, and then we can start to save the episode. So this will start the recording. On the left-hand side here, what you will see, and I'll try and highlight this for you, is 2 bars which will become further apart. So you can see the beginning and the end of the clip as it's building. You can also see the time at the bottom here of how long the clip is for. So if we get this out to about 30 seconds, and then I'll stop. So now we've got this clip. Automatically on the right-hand side, we have the option of adding it to a playlist. We want to enter the playlist name. So in this one, I'm just going to call this playlist 3. And then we can choose where we're going to add that to. So if I select into my name here, it will just automatically add that into my playlist. Now, my playlist is situated up here on the top right-hand side of the screen. And as you look down here, you'll see that I've now got a number 1 added onto my playlist in red. This indicates a recently added clip within there. Now, if I wanted to go into this particular clip, I just click on my playlist. All of my events show up down here, and then the most recent one will show up at the top. So if I've got all of these on here, I'm just going to select one of these. I'll select the bottom one to show through. I do have the ability to change the name of this. So if I right click on here, again, just going to put test 1, hit enter, and then that changes the name, which is especially useful when you're trying to organize your playlist or send out. You can share this with people. You can delete it, you can share, or you can download this individual episode. But the other thing that I actually want to get into a little bit on here before we leave this playlist is if you wanted to add some drawings onto here, you have the ability here to add a picture onto here. So you can add a picture, you can add some static drawings on here. There are dynamic drawings on there as well. And then at the bottom, we've got auto tracking. So let's say I wanted to auto track this particular player here. I would click on my auto tracking, just select this player. It will just process. So it's basically looking through this particular clip of video and just adding in some keyframes for me. I can position this straight across, so this beam of light straight across the player. I've got highlight styles on the right-hand side, so I can choose, if I want to, I can just choose it to be a disc, or I can choose it to be a full beam. You also have the ability to change the colors of these as well. So if I wanted that to be red, for example, I could change the color to red. I then have the option here, do I want to retract from here? Just say yes. Down here, you'll see again, it processes. And then once it's finished processing, what you can actually see on here are keyframes all the way along where it's actually tracked this player. So if we went ahead and just played this clip back through, it will just track the player. And then at the end of the clip, it will disappear. Again, we can, if we wanted to, we could just carry on, leave it playing. I can just take a snapshot if I want to, or I can just save this particular episode. So I'll save that episode, and then what you will see on the actual clip is you'll see this little blue pencil or paintbrush appear down here, and this indicates that we've got a dynamic drawing on there and with auto tracking, and you can delete that from there if you wish to, or we can just leave it on and we can save that later on. Looking at this clip again, if you want to change the borders of it, so if we want to change the start and end points of the clip, within when you were using Sports Contract, you would have noticed that this blue bar, it's a familiar bar. It also appears on some of our other pro products as well, such as Hudl Sports Code. It also appears on the Hudl platform as well, if you're adjusting clips. So there's a continuity across product to make it easy for people to transition from one to another. You can either use it as a slider and just slide it along and change the length of the clip. Alternatively, what you could do is you could actually set the clip length here if you wanted to, time, so you could add time on, so you could add a second onto there, onto the end of the clip or onto the beginning. And you can change the start time as well here, so you can move this in a little bit so it drops in. And then once you're done with that, once you're happy with all your changes, then just click on change borders again, and that will save any changes that you do have on there. The other thing that you have the ability to do here is to actually tag video. So if I click on the tag feature here, you'll see this little tagging panel appear. You can create additional tags if you wish to, just by using the plus button here. You can also create them from the your own profile, which again we'll come into in a second. You'd have the ability to tag and pause. So if we're watching back this clip, for example, and then I tag on here, I can just then keep adding as I go along. They will automatically be saved into my profile in my tag section of my profile. Again, I'm going to come back to that. So just wait a second. There we go. So I'll come back to this main platform. I've mentioned it a couple of times already, our profile. So the profile is up here at the top right-hand corner. You have the ability to change languages. You also have the ability to upload additional video if you wish to. But going into the profile, if I come down to the tags, so the tags that we've just created are then dropped into here as well. So the actual date that you created the tags is shown. And then also some other metadata on there, such as the team player it involved. You then have the ability, so I'll just click off here, of designating who's actually got access to it. And that's for each individual clip rather than this entire playlist of clips. You can filter down as well. So depending on what tags you've added into here. So in this case, tag 1, I can filter down and it'll show me just tag 1 instances. And then also you can do it by player as well. So if you select individual players, you just want to look at all of their tags, you can do that and look at that within here. Other things within the profile section, you've got your playlists. So if I jump into my playlists, any playlist you've created, so the one that I added to just now is listed here. You can change the name of your playlist. And one of the most important features of this is the share option. So any playlist you've created, what we can actually start to do is collaborate with each other. So I can share my playlist with one of my colleagues. They can add to that playlist. They can add drawings to that playlist. And then I can go back into it as well, and I can view that or make changes. It's really, really helpful if you're working in different cities or even different continents. You can have this sharing ability, and you would just click on the share button here. The access granted, it's either for viewing or reading or for editing. So if it's with another coach, just set it to editing. You can add the user down here. So you could just add the email of the user. Again, change for editing if it's going to be another coach. And then you would just add your colleague into there. And again, by default, it automatically sets for reading. So you would just need to go in there and then just send that to your colleague. Your colleague then will get a notification and they'll be able to just go into the playlist and start editing. If you were to share the playlist from, so if I come back into here, you'll notice that you had the option as well of sharing the playlist here. If I share the playlist from here, they will just get an email to view the playlist, not to actually collaborate on the playlist. So it's important that you do it from your actual profile. I'm just going to jump back again. So we've covered the playlist interface. I want to move into the statistics a little bit now within Instat. We can adjust and filter any statistics that we have access to. We can build any type of report that we want. So it's based on your needs. It's not pre-designed by us and then kind of forced on you that this is the type of playlist or report that you're actually going to receive. You set this yourself. With the lines analysis as well, you can also filter it by players involved. So you can look at how many, you could select a player and then decide to look at how many different incidents they were personally involved in. But one of the strengths is that you can then combine players as well. So you could look at 2 players and look at when they were involved and how the team was performing with those 2 particular players on ice at the same time. And we also have, like I said earlier, the shot maps feature on here. And if I come back into it again, so let's go back into some of those features. Just jump back in. So let's take a look at the games to start with. So if I go into the actual games themselves, the reports here, you've got the option of changing between the last 3 games, 5, 10 games, all the current season, current year, or an advanced selection. The advanced selection allows you to cherry pick which games you want. So if each game was in a particular round, if you wanted just games from round 1, 3, and 7, you could pick those if you wanted to. You also have the ability to look at, are you looking at whenever you want the stats for when it was even players on the ice, or are you looking for power plays or power kills? You can also compare with your opponent's statistics as well. So you're looking at average per game, or if you want the actual total, just click it onto total and you can look at different stats. If you're not sure about which each of these mean across the top, then just hover over them, and for each one you will see a little indicator of actually what these are. So penalty time, penalties drawn, for example. Anything that you see in blue will take you straight to a playlist of those features. So again, if you were to click on the opponents here, so you're looking at all their penalties, you click on there, it will bring up a playlist that again you can add sections from into your pre-designed playlist. You've got on the right-hand side the ability to download this into a spreadsheet, and that will download either as a CSV or as a normal Excel file. And then on the far right, the little cog icon, this takes you into this interface whereby you can select which stats you actually want shown on your report. So if you wanted to show expected goals per shot, you'll see it added down at the bottom. And if you take a look at the top right-hand corner, you'll see the number 21 there, indicating we have 21 parameters on our report. So every time that we add something, this number here will just change. It's always automatically added to the bottom of the report, which will be the far right-hand side of the report. So just showing you this one really quickly. So it'll be on the far right of any report that you're adding. If you want to move these up, then just move these up. So if we've got expected goals, for example, so let's just add expected goals onto there. And then we can either OK this, apply it. The apply button down at the bottom indicates how long do we want. So that duration that we mentioned at the beginning, about 12 seconds, 6 before, 6 after. If you want to change that so you're showing maybe 8 seconds before, you can apply that to here. And then once you're happy with your actual report, so if I want to move these expected goals to the top, for example, or just underneath my goals, just click OK. And then you'll see that I've got my expected goals per shot here, and then my goals next to it. So it just moves these around a little bit on here. For the skaters, our reports are very, very similar in layout, being able to choose our games or season, whether we're looking at game total, even play, power plays, for example, whether we're looking at averages, average per 20 minutes is a nice feature within here. So if we flip that, we can take a closer look. So we're looking at obviously periods. We can download again, and again we have the option to make changes on here. As we move across to the goalies tab, again, I won't go through each one of these again because they are the same. And then coming across to the right, we have a more restricted list of choices for this, obviously, with the goalies. But we still have the ability to move things up and down, and we still have the ability to actually change the duration of their clips if we want to see more of the beginning or the end of the clip. Looking at lines, we've got, again, options of the games, average per game. We have the options here of basic lines, defense lines, forwards, power play lines, or power kill lines. We also have the ability to choose players. So if I drop into here, and then we just select a player, then the player selected will show up in blue, and you will see everything, all of the lines they're involved in. But then if we start to limit or restrict, let's take a couple of different players. There we go. So if we start to look at combinations of players, we can do that. So there we go. And then once you've got your combination down, you can then look at the statistics for that particular player. So if we're not looking at averages per game, in this case, if we want to look at actual totals, we'll see the totals in there. And again, if I want to drop it down to the last 10 games, for example, it'll just load up that data. And then once that data is loaded, it'll just populate within this area here. Going across to the shot maps. Our shot maps, we're starting, as we move from the left, the overview, which is quite broad, and then moving across to the right of the screen, we're starting to get a little bit more focused in what we're looking at. So within our shot maps here, the little X's that you will see are block shots. And then we have either shots on goal in black, obviously in red, we've got the goals themselves. You also will see within this, each one of these, if I can I'll see if I can bring this up a little bit. You can actually see that we've got the expected goal values shown on here as well. So if we just looked at shots on goal, for example, it starts to filter this down. Again, you can filter it down by shot type, attack type. We can look at different periods as well. So if I drop this down, it'll just filter that information down. You can look at it through different opponents as well. If you're looking at that side of things, the opponent, who the opponent's goalie was. If you wanted to filter it by expected goal value, you can do that. So on the main ice here, we have these individual markers. Each individual marker, when clicked on, will actually take you to the video of that. I'll show you some video of that. So, I was using a hockey term. If you're in the house there, you're hitting 100%, which is good. And then you also have the ability to flip this and just look at spots on goal as well. So if you're looking at a particular goalie that you wanted to look at and look at their tendencies, then this becomes really valuable looking at that. Above it, what you will see is in blue again, the number 81, meaning that we've got 81 clips here that we can jump straight into a playlist to show that for a total of 16 minutes on there. How are we statistically doing from just the right-hand side of goal, for example? Then you can select that area and it will isolate the shots from that particular area. And again, at the top here, it will then drop it down to say like 20 clips that we could look at just from that specific area on ice. Anytime that you want to come out of there, just go back here to this selection icon, click it again, and it will return us to all of the shots on goal. For this one, for the cog, we just have the ability to change the duration. So the time, the lead time and the lag time of the actual clip. So moving along to the face-offs. So once the face-offs are loaded, we have the ability to see, again, the number of games that we can select. We've got a total of 555 at the moment from the last 10 games. So if I drop that down a little bit, and we just take a look at the last 3 games, dropping it down to 194. Then on the right-hand side, we have the ability to change the duration again, before and after. And we also are able to look at number of players on ice as well. So if we wanted to look at power plays, for example, or power kills, we can change that as well. And we could also look at how do we do specifically in overtime. We can look at, maybe we want to look at a particular opponent player and just wonder how that we do against that player or what their tendencies are. We could actually look at that, and the same for our own players as well. So now what I'll do is I'll jump into episode search. So episode search is probably our most detailed searching parameter. And for this, even though if we look at the left-hand side, you may think, okay, well, we've got less options here to actually make our selections. What it does is it allows us to really, really drill down into what we're looking at. So if we want to look at scoring chances, for example, so it'll load up scoring chances, and then obviously we've got all the scoring chances across here on the right-hand side. And some people, depending on which softwares you've used previously, may think, okay, well, it's not showing any of our second period shots, for example, over here on the left. But by default, we're always working that we've got a defensive zone here on the left-hand side, neutral zone, then our offensive zone on the right. So we're always playing from left to right when we're looking at the ice in this instance. So again, looking at scoring chances from here, we could look at scoring chances from breakouts, for example. Again, it should then filter. So obviously the origin of the breakouts was showing there on the left-hand side. We can look at different zones. We can look at any scoring chances, maybe from power plays, want to look at. And again, we've got our episodes at the top here where we can select. And many of you may have guessed already, if we click on the cog icon, we've got the ability to change the lead and lag time of each individual clip. At the bottom, we have the ability to have a look at how we actually do. So if I look at scoring chances again, and maybe I only want to look at the last 10 minutes of each game, and also any overtime included in that. Again, I can drop this down, just look at the last 10, which removes a couple on there, leaves us with 30 episodes to look at. We can also look at filtering down by which players, so player who made selected actions. We can look at options where, depending on which players are actually on ice. So if you're looking at combinations of lines of which players are most effective in the last 10 minutes, for example, for creating chances, you can do your filters that way. You can also look at some opposition data as well. So using the sliders, you can slide it and change from, at the moment, we've got the entirety, including overtime, but you can filter obviously down to first period, second period, third period within this as well. And again, depending on what you're looking at within here, if we want to look at face-offs, for example, once it's added our face-offs in to there, we can just look at our defensive zone face-offs if we wanted to look at those, or if we're looking at penalties. So we just look at our defensive zones and the penalties, or if we're looking at penalties in the offensive zone. So as long as you can remember that everything that we show on screen, we can actually click on and we can take it back to a video. You'll be able to just jump in and out of your playlist and create extra clips from your playlist. So I'm just going to jump back into our goals. So just finally, on our playlist again, if you want to drag an incident, so if we want to drag this clip, for example, into a particular playlist, just click and drag and go on to, if you hover over the playlist, so I've got a folder here and it's got a player A playlist inside it. I can just drop that inside there into player A. And same thing, if I wanted to drop this clip in here, I can drop that clip into my playlist. Just gonna drop back again. So we covered our episode search here. So just doing a quick recap of this one. So breaking down teams by and player statistics from single or multiple games, filtering your video clips by layering up specific conditions, obviously creating your reports as well in the same manner. Examples of this, puck losses in the offensive zone by a particular player during the last 3 games. We can search across that. Face-off charts, Same thing, utilize the filters, see how players or teams are performing in different zones on the ice. Coming down to exporting now, so video playlists, full game video, we can export any film out of Instat platform. We can use the download all episodes menu to export the video clips as well, or if we just want full period files as well. So if we wanted all 3 periods, for example, to combine that, we can do that. We can also export the XMLs. So we're just going to jump back into there again. So if I come back to the game, so I'm just going to go back to our overview. So if we look at a particular game, so if I go to the full game, to export the full game, I would just come in and download all episodes. Again, remembering not to share the playlist from here, but to share it from your profile. Downloading all episodes will download it onto your desktop. It's important when you're downloading this, just to remember what resolution you've actually got it set on. The higher the resolution, the longer it will take to actually download. So if you just wanted a quick look at it, just set it to 720 and it won't take too long, depending on what your internet speeds are. You do have the option across on the right-hand side here to download the sports code, but any of you who are going to be using that, obviously just reach out to us and we'll be able to take you through that at a different time. For downloading the data, so again, if I just jump back into here. So if we've got data from a particular game, so if I go into the game profile and then come up to this little download section here, I have the ability to then choose which areas I want to actually look at. So if the coach only wants to look at, say, puck battles, you could just download the data for puck battles. So it's going to download as an XML or as a CSV file. So again, depending if you just want an Excel spreadsheet just to look at the numbers and try and drill down on that a little bit, maybe again, incorporate it into a spreadsheet. So you create what we know as a stats dump. You're just going to export this data and then combine it with another spreadsheet and then maybe create some pivot tables and various other things like that to compare the data. But again, over the last 18 years, I've been working in pro sport. The coaches tend to just want to go back to video at the end. So you look at the numbers and drill down from the numbers, and then you direct yourself back to the video. And that is one of the greatest strengths of Instat, is having everything linked back to video. So again, we can do this for both players and we can do it for teams as well. You can do it for the home team, the away team. You can choose which period you want to look at the data over and then just download that data. So jumping back into here, I think now we've covered the video library, game profiles, being able to cut up individual clips, so episodes from the footage, being able to export out our playlists and share it with colleagues and collaborate with colleagues via the profile button at the top here. Covering off how to create drawings and dynamic drawings. And then finally, how to, when we export the video, we're exporting the video as a .mov file. So the .mov file can then be shared with our colleagues via the platforms, such as WhatsApp, for example. So I'm now going to jump back across and just lead it on to Shayne to see if there's any questions that have come in, Shayne.
Thank you, Lance, for your expertise and your guidance through the product. Thank you so much. We've got a couple of submitted questions already. The first one is, how long does it take for the video upload? So when that begins, then the upload is completed. How long before all the stats and the data becomes platform ready?
For the video to upload, I would say give yourself at the very outside a couple of hours. And again, that depends on your internet speed of how quickly that's going to upload. Just make sure when you start the upload process not to leave the page so that it carries on with that upload. It will upload quicker than that. It's just a safe boundary to say 2 hours for people. For the actual statistics to actually be sort of like presented on the platform. A lot will depend on obviously the quality of the footage that's uploaded. So if it's a broadcast, then they're looking at anything between 12, 24 hours. So if you were playing on a Tuesday night, for example, then I would expect it to be there the next morning, all the data. If the video quality is poor, or if the whoever's tagging the video cannot see individual player numbers, for example, then it may take longer, but you would be sent a notification of that to maybe clarify certain player numbers, for example.
Thank you so much. And your chance as the audience, so if you have any more questions that you would like to ask, hit the Q&A button now and we can ask those to Lance. There are another two at the moment, Lance. The next one is, you showed us a few moments across the presentation around adding clip lengths or the episode clip length.
Yeah.
Can those be extended after you've exported them?
Yeah, so with an individual clip length, so if we go back into the goals again and jump back in there and just select any of these instances, so the first one that comes up. So you'll notice when we go on to change the border here, so other video is then generated behind it. We don't have a limit on where that goes to. As you can see at the bottom here, we started this particular clip 18 minutes, 46 seconds in. So you've got the ability to go all the way back to 0 if you wanted to. And the same thing, depending on when this particular clip was. So if this is a first period, let's say for argument's sake that the first period did actually end on 20 minutes. I'm not saying it will, but you could actually go up to the end of that period as well. So you could go up to, say, 20 minutes there. So you could have the full length. They are actually described as precision editors for a reason, that normally you would only be moving a few seconds either way at the beginning or the end of the clip. But I have been in meetings where players have actually said, 5-10 seconds earlier, X happened, which then influenced my position, whether it be my position on ice, or if it was the position that the goaltender was taking up, then you could then jump back an extra 10 seconds so that they've got the opportunity to talk through that with you as well. But as soon as you've done that, as soon as you've adjusted those clip lengths, just make sure that you click off change borders, and that automatically saves that adjustment that you've made on there.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Another one is it possible, pardon me, is it possible to utilize tagging from another tool, such as Sports Code, then integrate with Hudl Instat in order to then share those clips?
You can do it if you downloaded the clips themselves. So as I showed, we had that ability within the platform or within instances here to download Sports Code. Whenever we do that, when we download those packages, it downloads the video in an XML file, which is specifically formatted for Sports Code. So you could then move it into Sports Code. Sports Code is a more advanced tagging platform, utilizing things that we call code windows, which can be just built out to the user's needs. So if you want your game model to be used to analyze the game, then we would highly recommend using something like Sports Code, because it's a lot more flexible. It also has the ability to create custom outputs as well. So we can create quite nice looking output windows for you for any reports, which again is linked back to the video. The biggest difference being the Instat platform is an online platform, whereas Sports Code is actually something that you would download onto your computer. It is Mac based as well, so that is a consideration for some people. But once it's on there, it's a really, really powerful tool, and it opens up links into all of our other Pro Suite products as well.
Some good collaborative pathways there. Thank you, Lance. That's all for the questions so far. Please, if you've got any more, ask them through. There was a nice comment from Bjorn as well around the session being recorded. So the answer is yes, the session is being recorded and we will send it. But I'm just going to cover that in a section at the end as well. So while there's no more questions, Lance, I'm going to hand back over to you to take us through some of the closeout pieces.
No problem. So we've briefly mentioned there about additional products that we have available to us. So again, once you're in Instat, you start to become in the realms of our sort of like our more pro products suite, whereby everything starts to become more integrated. So one area we looked at is sports code. And for those people who have never ever seen it before, it's a timeline-based platform. So it incorporates both video and the timeline. You've got the instances here on the timeline. So if you think about, if I was to double click on a line, for example, it brings up a playlist of those instances. So we do have the ability to create and work from sorters, which is more prevalent with North American sports, such as ice hockey, and be able to sort that data. But also, again, we can utilize our code windows to actually break this down. So we can utilize the third-party data in here, but then we can put our game model on top of that as well. So we can add that further depth of detail on there. Sports code then also allows us at the elite level to move into things like Studio, which is a more advanced telestration software. So where we showed adding the dynamic drawings on Instat will be suitable for a lot of coaches. There'll be some coaches who maybe want to go that stage further and add additional telestration on there. It does give you broadcast level telestration. So you can create things such as playbooks at the beginning of the season and then utilize them. Because Studio is linked back to sports code and their playlist, you can actually just then create clips, telestrate on the clips, add your coaching points on there as well, and then send it back to the playlist. And then you can save the playlists over time. You can keep adding to it. You can delete things off it. And you can also upload it onto the Hudl platform as well to share with a wider team. So it gives you a lot more control over who's got access to different areas as well. And if you bring a new coach in, for example, you want to change a play name, it's really quick to actually send something back from a Sports Code playlist back into Studio, adjust that, and then send it back again. And then finally, we have one of the, I suppose, more recent additions in Fast Model. Some of you will be familiar with the scouting platform in Fast Scout. I don't profess to be an expert on that myself, but it is available to you if you want to reach out. And Shayne's going to actually take us through the mechanisms of actually reaching out to us. And when you do that, you can get put in touch with the correct person at the right time. We are 24/7 here at Hudl, so you will get through to somebody and get an answer. And if a member of staff who's has more expertise in, for example, Fast Scout, is in a different time zone to you, then we will actually get the message to them and they will get in touch with you and set up an appropriate meeting with you. So a few takeaway messages from today. Things I want to touch on is the comprehensive video library. It's until you actually get into it on Instat and start diving into it, you won't realize just how far in you can go on there and the breadth of coverage that it actually has. Also, the advanced data that is on there and the analysis being linked back to video just allows you to hit all of the different learning points. So if you're somebody who likes looking at the data, that's available to you. If you're somebody like me who likes looking at the video and try and put some context to the data, then that's also available to you for everything. And with the playlist being auto-generated from the data, it saves you a lot of time from moving clips from one place to another. And again, if you looked at it over the context of an entire season, you will be talking about weeks being saved rather than minutes being saved. The customized tagging and playlist creation is available to you in there, but again, it's more in depth on our other products like Sports Code, the tagging. The playlist creation is absolutely fantastic within Instat. If you think about it at the beginning of the season, if you set out a plan and said, right, we want to create a playlist for all the teams in our league. And we also, there's a set, let's say we've got 10 players that we're scouting, maybe for our depth chart to add in for next season. And we're going to add clips into their playlist as the season goes on. And then you can compare and contrast those players when it gets a decision time on who you're going to bring in or even which players you're going to release. The user-friendly communication platform, it's simple for a reason. It makes it quicker. So you can actually then share video in the form of playlists with your colleagues. You can collaborate on those. And then if you actually need to send some video external to your organization, the example I always give is if you've got a player that goes to hospital and is being seen by a consultant, it helps massively if the consultant can actually see the mechanisms of the injury. So if you just quickly send out a video clip to that consultant, they can look at the mechanism of the injury. They can watch that up to 5 times if they're external, if they're not a Instat customer. But if you are an Instat customer, such as one of your other coaches, you've got indefinite viewings of that. So I'll hand you back over to Shayne now, who's going to take us through the ending, the key resources available to us.
Thank you, Lance. Really appreciate your time again. Thank you. And as a customer base, what you would expect from us as a company is that dedicated support and that dedicated help with your onboarding journey. On the left-hand side, there's the dedicated platform that is mapped. That's, pardon me, that is person driven. Lance said, and it's monitored 24/7. So we've got full 24 hours coverage on responding to those items that come in through that email channel. So with the QR code, you can snap that and have that as a reference. And just as a kind of a view into the team itself that's behind this work here with our education, implementation and support teams. We are more than 200 people in number. So therefore there is some fantastic support and some fantastic resources at your call. The next one is the middle piece, which are the tutorials. So if you're looking for any kind of self-help, there's something on the program, I want to know a little bit more about this or some questions about your journey, you could snap this. You could also then jump into our dedicated tutorial section on our support website. That is growing by the day as well, and there's more than 50 articles out there on live now. The third item is our YouTube playlist. So again, with that QR code, we have a dedicated onboarding playlist that you can snap through and have a look at those little videos, loads of the little pieces of the program that Lance has been showing today. Again, at a time that's most suitable for you. And as a number 4, what we're going to do is we're going to send this recording to everybody that's on the call today. So thank you for turning up in your numbers. It was wonderful to kind of present this to you, but also let you know that we've got you covered. We're here to help. You would expect that, and we'd want to make sure that we are helping you with your onboarding journey. So you're going to get this recording sent back to you as well. And that's it from the team. We've no more questions, Lance, so we're good to close out. Thanks again for your expertise. Thank you, everybody, for your time and being on the call today. If there is any questions that you need, you'll be able to have that QR code as well when we send you the video. So looking forward to further interactions and to serve you on your onboarding journey. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you from the team.
Yes.